Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Michigan Department of Transportation's virtual public meeting for the I-94 Modernization Project. Of course, we would prefer to be with you in person, but safety is our priority, and this format, though it has its limitations, allows everyone to remain safe. My name is Nate Ford, and I'll be moderating tonight's public presentation. The purpose of our meeting is to share information and answer your questions about the Grand River Avenue Bridge that MDOT will be rebuilding starting in early March through the fall of 2022. The presentation will include information on the I-94 Modernization Project overall and on the Grand River Avenue Bridge, including upcoming demolition and construction schedules, detour routes, and other details. This work is part of the ongoing Advanced Bridges program to rebuild the bridges over I-94 that are in the poorest condition before rebuilding the freeway. Here is the meeting format for tonight. The first part of the meeting, approximately 25 minutes, will be devoted to our project presentation. For the remainder of the meeting, we will respond to your questions. All attendees will be muted until we reach the Q&A segment. At that time, we ask that you raise your hand or you use the raise hand function to ask a question on your computer. Or you can submit written questions by clicking the Q&A button on the bottom center of your screen. Or if you called in, press *9 to raise your hand. Now, I would like to introduce Terry Stebanski, Senior Project Manager for the I-94 project, who will begin the presentation. Terry?
Thank you, Nate. Yes, as Nate said, my name is Terry Stebanski, and I've been involved in the I-94 project for many years now, and I always enjoy the opportunity to talk about the project. And again, as Nate said, this meeting is focused on the Grand River project, but it's always good to give a little overview to describe the overall project and how the Grand River Bridge reconstruction project fits into the overall I-94 project. So I'll just take a few minutes here just to talk about the entire corridor and what we have going on for the next 9 years or so into the future. So what we have here is our I-94 strip plan, and it shows the entire corridor, which is 6.7 miles of freeway reconstruction. This is a complete reconstruction involving the I-75 interchange, the Lodge interchange, and all the other bridges over the freeway. Complete reconstruction of pretty much everything throughout the whole length from Connor Avenue on the east to I-96 on the west. And we've done a lot of work so far, and we've put some details together. And in advance of the bridge work that we have going, we've also done a lot of environmental work, a lot of stakeholder engagement. We've modified the plans accordingly, and we put together this preliminary build-out plan that I'll describe right now. But first of all, what we're doing is we're beginning to reconstruct the freeway from the eastern end. We call it Package 1. It's shown on the right-hand part of the screen, from Burns to Barrett. And that project will begin, the construction will begin in 2024 and last through 2027. We're beginning the final design of that, and this portion is actually funded, and then it also involves the reconstruction of the Connor Avenue interchange. Then after that, we'll move to Package 2. We're moving west with Package 2 from November of 2025 to May of 2028. And this is Package 2, Russell to Burns Street. And then we're moving to Package 3, which involves the interchange of I-94 and I-75 in 2026 to 2028. And then again, we move to the end of the project. And the reason we're doing that is because Package 5 is so complex. There's a lot of work that we have to do in preparation for the complete reconstruction of the Lodge Freeway with I-94. As you know, it's a very complex freeway, and one of the things we're doing with that freeway is we're restacking it so that we have better connectivity through the neighborhoods. And it's a lot of work, and we want to make sure that we maintain mobility throughout that process. So we're moving Package 4, which is Trumbull Street to I-96, and then finally, from August 2030 to August 2023, we'll be reconstructing the Lodge Freeway with I-94. And what this work involves, as I said, is a complete freeway reconstruction, a reconstruction of the interchanges, all the bridges along the corridor, and also the service drives. And one of the things I wanted to mention is we have been working closely with all our stakeholders, with the public, with the businesses, to make sure that this project fits exactly into the community and serves the needs of motorists, residents, businesses, non-motorized population. And we're really striving to connect the community without impacting the community during construction. So that's really one of our goals. And I'll talk a little bit more about our goals in the next couple slides. And another important thing is our drainage improvements. We know we want to work on that to make sure that our drainage is state of the art and it meets the needs of the future. We've been working closely with drainage agencies to really put together a collaborative state of the art drainage system for I-94 and the adjacent roadways. So next slide. What this shows here is the importance of what we're doing. And I-94 is really a safety project. If you've ever been out, if you've driven this corridor, you'll notice that there are narrow shoulders both on the inside and on the outside. The deceleration and acceleration lanes are very short, and it causes motorists to have to really, I don't want to say fight, but sometimes it can be difficult to merge with those short entrance lanes and the weaving motions, and it causes congestion too with all the motion. So we want to make this project, make the section of roadway safer. That it really is a safety project, because it has served the Detroit area and commerce well since the 50s, but now it is an outdated design, and we're going to bring it up to current standards to make it safer with wider shoulders, with longer acceleration and deceleration lanes, and a better geometric. So that is to make it flow easy, traffic to flow easier. And if you click on that, you'll see what the future freeway will look like. Next. And we're doing this, and this shows the lengthened entrance ramps, exit ramps, the widened shoulders, and we're able to do this. A key part of this is we wanted to make sure that we minimize any impact to the area where this roadway is. So we're actually able to provide additional capacity through adding another lane. As you see, there's 4 lanes in each direction when we're done, with wider shoulders and lengthened ramps, but we're able to do that without really making the footprint of the roadway any wider. And we're doing that through the construction of these retaining walls. So we're removing the earth, building the retaining walls. That gives us the space for the additional capacity, which we all know is needed out there. There's a lot of congestion, and the roadway is safer at the same footprint. So that was one of our goals, and we think we know we've met that as we move forward. Next slide. And here, this timeline just shows a little bit of what we've done. It starts on the left at 2020, in 2020. But we've really been working on I-94 in a variety of areas since probably about the 90s, with certain approvals and putting together environmental documents and a variety of studies. So we've been at this a long time, and we actually started with our advanced bridges in 2014 with Gratiot and Van Dyke and Woodward with some of the earlier bridges, and we're continuing that. Those were the bridges, as Nate said, that really were in need of the most work. So we've got on those, and that is continuing right now with the advanced bridge construction, and Grand River is one of those bridges. So we're working on the advanced bridges. We've done a lot of environmental work, and that's, you see the next the pink sheet there designates our supplemental environmental impact statement. That was an additional study that we did. We knew that the city of Detroit was changing, so we wanted to make sure that this project really fits the needs of the community, businesses, and motorists. So we did some additional studies. We completed that recently. We have our ongoing property acquisition taking place right now, and then we move right into the construction of our first section, the Burns to Barrett section that I mentioned on the eastern end of the project. And then we're going to march on down the freeway, rebuilding I-94 from the east to the west. And some next. And here's just a summary of some of the goals. Of course, as I said, it's a safety project. We need to improve the safety of the roadway and bring it up to current capacity or current standards and improve the capacity. Local connectivity is very important. We've done a lot of things with the bridges and the proposed bridges to reconnect the community in a variety of ways. And also, of course, to improve the condition of I-94. It's an old roadway in need of reconstruction. We certainly want to maintain local and regional mobility during construction. That's a very, very important part. You know, everybody needs to get where they need to get to. We want to build the project, we need to do that, but we want to make sure that we maintain mobility during construction. So we're striving to do that is absolutely the best that we can. We want to award contracts to support the first project in 2024. That's our goal. We're moving forward on that. We have a final designer under contract and nearly under contract to do that for the section. And of course, deliver the project within budget. Next slide, please. And here's one of the things too, we're using I-94 as a means to really provide opportunities for small businesses. So throughout the Advanced Bridge project and on to the major construction work, we've been working to engage small business contractors and mentor them and work and give opportunities for small businesses, both in the consulting area and the construction area, to work with more established construction companies and contractors and consultants to gain experience. So we've been doing that. It's been very successful. There's been many small businesses that have grown as a result of what we've done so far, and we're going to continue with those successes. And it really does. It's served us well to increase the technical ability and business knowledge of small business firms by working together on this large team. This project is a large project with a lot of different consulting firms and a lot of expertise out there all working together. So it's a great team, and there's a lot to be learned by many different firms of all sizes. Next. And with that, I'll hand this over to Andrea Wilcox, who will talk about specifically our advanced bridges that we've worked on so far, and then focusing on our Grand River Bridge. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you, Terry. My name is Andrea Wilcox, and I'm a project manager at the Detroit Transportation Service Center. So I'm going to talk about the Grand River Bridge itself. The scope of this project is to reconstruct the Grand River Bridge. This is going to include steel plate girders, a concrete deck, traffic signals, utility work, signing, lighting, landscaping, and pavement markings. So now I'm going to talk about the existing and proposed cross sections themselves. So as you can see on the top section, this is the existing bridge right now. It's 100 feet wide. It has 3 travel lanes in each direction and a center left turn lane with sidewalks to accommodate the pedestrians. The proposed bridge width is 104 feet. We're eliminating 1 travel lane in each direction to allow for protected bike lanes. They're separated from traffic, planter boxes for landscaping, and sidewalk for pedestrian traffic. The proposed cross section was determined with extensive coordination with the City of Detroit's Planning and Development Department, and incorporates their desire to better accommodate non-motorized users of the roadway system in the city. Next slide. And this is the I-94 Advanced Bridges schedule. You know, as you can see, most of the advanced bridge work has been completed. That's the bridges in the gray on the left side of the screen. This work was planned to be completed prior to the mainline freeway construction starting. So far we've constructed 11 bridges from 2013 to 2019, and we removed 1 structure, which is the 3rd Street. We currently have 4 bridges under construction, Cadillac, Frontenac, and Burns, that started in 2021 and will be completed in 2022 this spring. And 2nd Avenue Bridge hopefully will be completed this fall. We're going to be starting construction on Grand River Avenue this year, and the Cass Avenue Bridge replacement that's scheduled for this year cannot start until the 2nd Avenue Bridge is complete. We currently have 2 railroad structures that are in this Advanced Bridges. They're scheduled to be completed in 23 and 24. That's the anticipated construction. And then we also have two other projects, active traffic demand management projects. There is one on the I-94 freeway, and that system is in place and currently operational. And then we have one on Gratiot and Michigan Avenue that's going to start this year and be completed in 2023. This project consists of signal upgrades at 42 locations on Gratiot and Michigan Avenue. Now I'm going to hand the presentation over to Mark Smith to discuss maintaining traffic.
All right. Thank you, Andrea, for that. Yeah, as she said, I'm Mark Smith, and I'm part of the I94 project team, helping with the mobility and traffic operations for the project. So I'm going to talk a little about the construction and the detours that'll be in place during construction. So the Grand River Bridge will be a full closure of the bridge during construction, meaning that the entire bridge will be closed. There was no way to maintain any lanes on the bridge just due to the condition of the structure. And also it would greatly impact the length of construction season. So the primary detour route for Grand River, if you're coming from the south, heading north to cross over I-94, you'll be directed to take Warren Avenue and then to jump on I-96, and then you can exit again at Grand Boulevard to continue on Grand River. And similarly, on the north side, if you're coming south towards I-94, you would enter the freeway at 96 from the Grand Boulevard entrance there, exit at Warren, and then come back to Grand River there. Next slide. This sheet is showing, so the last detours I was talking about was really for traffic that is trying to get through the area, kind of more regional trips. There will be a secondary kind of local detour set up for anyone that is really trying to access this part of the city between Grand Boulevard and Warren. It's important to note also that on Grand River, DDOT, this is one of their major routes. DDOT will be sending out communications to their users and their riders about the rerouting of this route and changing of stops. But it's more than likely that their buses will follow a route similar to what we have shown here. And this is really just for local traffic. These streets here are very narrow and not conducive to trucks and other larger type vehicles that could be on Grand River. So as you can see here, they'll be crossing 94 via Linwood, which is the street just to the east of Grand River. There's also other options, along the city in this area. Just to the east of that is 14th Street, or Rosa Parks, and Trumbull. So there's several opportunities to get across 94 for anyone kind of familiar with the neighborhood and living in the area. But this will be the posted route out there with signing. Slide. So, and now we're going to start talking about some impacts on I-94 itself and on the freeway. So while the bridge is being constructed above 94 on Grand River, 3 lanes of traffic, which is the existing travel pattern on 94 in each direction, will be able to be maintained during all the peak hours. So that's for your morning and afternoon commutes and the majority of the weekdays. There will be times that during off-peak hours, so it could be night times or maybe middle of the day or weekends, where there might be single lane closures in place. And that's just to allow the contractor additional area to bring in trucks, bring in materials, or do other construction activities that require extra workspace. So while we are maintaining those lanes on I-94, there is going to be some impacts to some of the ramps as we're shifting traffic to the outside or inside. These are some of the ramps that will be impacted. The first one here, your eastbound to I-94, eastbound I-94 exit ramp to Grand River. If you're trying to get off at that ramp, there'll be detour signing out there coming from the west, so heading eastbound on I-94 to either exit Warren Avenue if you're trying to stay south of I-94, and if you're trying to get to the north side of 94, you'd be directed to take I-96 up to Grand Boulevard. Now, if you're already up on the local streets and you want to enter I-94, there'll be detour signing in place on the south side of I-94 to take Warren Avenue out to 94. And then on the north side of 94, you would be able to take Grand Boulevard to 96 and then get on 94 that way. So this is another ramp that will be impacted with the construction, being able to maintain those lanes on I-94. This is a ramp that'll need to be closed. And this is the exit ramp to I-96. So both the eastbound, the westbound I-94 to eastbound or westbound I-96 will need to be closed. And the detour for this is just to stay on I-94 past the ramp that you'd normally exit at. You'd exit at Grand Boulevard and then be able to re-enter the freeway heading east. And then you would catch the I-96 ramp as you approach I-96. And you could either take that to westbound or eastbound I-96. All right, this one might be a little harder to see, but the areas there, you can see Grand River labeled there, but the red and white areas are showing the ramps basically coming from I-96 to I-94. So this is eastbound and westbound 96 to 94. Those ramps will be closed as well for the construction. So the detour routes for that, for the westbound I-96 ramp would be really to just stay on 75. If you were trying to get to 94, stay on 75 and then follow that around to get to I-94 that way. Again, if you're coming, I guess, from the north side or eastbound I-96, you would stay, continue south, and then jump onto 75 and get over to 94. Right, and then the last one here we have for the construction of the Grand River Bridge, there will be 3 times during the construction where the freeway will have to be shut down. The reason for that is when we're demoing the bridge and also setting the beams. So the first closure will be when we're demolishing the Grand River Bridge. And this will happen over a weekend, so the freeway will be closed late Friday night and be open again early morning, by early morning Monday. And then the other 2 times will be for setting the beams on I-90 or on the Grand River structure. 2 weekends are needed for that, just to the size of the bridge and the amount of time it would be required. It couldn't be done in a single weekend. The detour routes for that were basically, again, to stay on 75 and take that loop around. It's worth noting here that, in our communications that we had sent out for this meeting, we had an anticipated closure date for the first weekend for the demolition of the bridge as February 4th. That was the earliest time, basically, in the contract that the contractor would be allowed to start the demolition. More recent communications with the contractor, and utility companies, we now think that the demolition will be closer to the weekend of March 4th. But that date has still not been set yet. So as we learn new information and get a set date on that first closure time, we'll be communicating with you through the same channels that the I94 communications team will do, and as well as media releases and other communications like that. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Nate, take us through the question and answering.
I actually will be doing that portion, Mark. My name is Bradley. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Terry, Andrea, and Mark for presenting the presentation. Now we will answer any questions that you all have. As a reminder, you can raise your hand to ask a question, or you can submit written questions by clicking the Q&A button on the bottom of the center of your screen. If you are on the phone, press *9 to raise your hand. We had a couple questions come in during the presentation, so I'll start with those. The first one is, why are the pedestrians protected by a planter barrier, but not the cyclists? So if we could go back to that slide, and Mark, Andrea, Terry would like to take that one.
I mean, I can take a stab at it if anyone else from the project team wants to jump in. Feel free. But so this cross section was developed with meetings with the city of Detroit and the planning group there. So I mean, I guess the reason partially is the entire corridor. So we're still matching up with what the Grand River corridor has north and south of the bridge. Where right now it's just a striped bike lane. So we don't want to add a new kind of fixed object on the bridge structure without the entire corridor being set. You know, I guess the option with the sorry. Yep, but so the option is that, sorry about this, the virtual environment. So, but the bike lane could be even used for a different type of treatment. So if it wanted to be like a bus rapid transit lane, if that was to be added to the corridor, or basically it gives more flexibility on the bridge that is going to be in place for many years, rather than kind of setting a barrier on there right now.
Yeah. Right. Thank you, Mark. Forgive me, I need to take a pause on the questions. We need to take a couple minutes to do the Title VI poll. So Olivia, if you could get that together for our participants. And if you all could just take a couple moments to fill out that Title VI poll, that would be much appreciated. And then we will get back to the Q&A. So you should see a "what is your zip code" pop up on your screen. And there are 3 other questions to answer there. All right, we'll just give it a couple more minutes, and then I'll read the next question. All right, I believe we can proceed. So the next question, will the traffic signals be mounted on overhead cables or steel tubular mast arms? Mark, Andrea, Terry, anybody from the project team?
I can take that one. So it'll just be on span wire. That's so I mean steel cables, not the tubes. That's the MDOT standard design.
Thank you, Mark. Next question, could flexible delineator posts be used in the buffer area next to traffic? Anybody want to-
Yeah, they've been used throughout the city, but in this case, our project, our construction limits don't extend that far off the bridge, and we didn't want to install delineator post on the bridge itself because it would just create another hole in the deck essentially. And also at the time we developed the plans, we didn't feel the city had a maintenance vehicle that would be able to go out there and actually plow the snow in that narrow of space. But I think in general, when the city comes back and restripes the lanes and the bike lanes, delineator posts could be added by the city down the road in the future.
And I just want to reiterate what Mark said originally about flexibility. That was one of the things that we had extensive discussions with the city. And one of the things we wanted to do was provide that flexibility to make this cross section of the bridge fit into the approach road, the Grand River on each side of the bridge. We wanted to make sure that we could accommodate what the city wants to do in the future.
Okay, we do have one hand raised, a Jay. Olivia, if you could get Jay unmuted so Jay could ask their question.
Jay, you can go ahead.
Yes. I've been following this for a long time, and I actually have two questions. The first of which is, when is the project actually expected to start? Like the major work, because I've heard different estimates, like either 2024 or 2025 or something like that. And also, as far as the Grand River Bridge, how come you couldn't just demolish one side and just rebuild that one, then do the same like you did with the Gratiot Bridge?
Yeah, well, related to the entire corridor, our current schedule calls for some work to start. Well, actually, as we said, the advanced bridges have been going on for a long time, but the major construction down in the corridor itself on the freeway is currently scheduled to start late 2023. Major construction you wouldn't see down until 2024 is what we're proposing. And so we've got a lot of work to do to get there. We've got a big team, and that's our current schedule calls for the major construction on the eastern end, the Burns to Barrett section of I-94 to be under construction in 2024. And the second question regarding our method to construct the bridge. Now, one of the things we look at that every time we come across a bridge and that we're going to demolish, reconstruct, we ask ourselves, well, what's the best way to do this? And there's two different, there's other methods, variety of methods, but the two are either part width, like what you mentioned, you do half, you let the traffic drive on the half that's still open and you reconstruct the other half. Or you demolish the entire bridge and reconstruct the entire bridge at one time. And there's trade-offs. And so based on what we found for the Grand River Bridge, there are very good detour routes that really wouldn't impact motorists, pedestrians, bicyclists. There is some impact. I'm not going to discount that. But there are multiple routes, redundant routes, that you can get over I-94 without too much of a problem. So that's the positive side. And then on the flip side, whenever you reconstruct a bridge part width, it takes longer. So if you do it all at one time, we can do it faster. And actually, it's easier to construct. Therefore, the cost is less. And you get a better quality, too, because you're not doing two sides at a time. You can do it all in one piece, all at one time, when you construct the deck. And so, since we had such a good alternative routes while it was closed, we thought we could build it faster and do a better job if we were able to close the bridge all at one time, reconstruct it all at one time. So it all depends on the location and the alternate routes available. And again, we had some pretty good detail routes here.
Okay, we have another hand raised, Latanya Pitts.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
My question is, by you just doing the Grand River Corridor Bridge, are there things in the works to repair all of the bridges in the city of Detroit, or is it just in pockets that you all are focusing on? That's your main concern?
There is a variety of work going on around Detroit, but this project is specifically from I-96 to Conner Avenue, that 6.7 mile stretch. And there is 67 bridges along that corridor in that 6.7 mile stretch. So we are replacing all those bridges as part of this project. So yeah, this is, we've done, Andrea mentioned, what was it, 14 already? And we're continuing to do that in between this Conner to I-96 corridor. But this is one specific job. MDOT has other work in the process and progress throughout other areas of the city, I'm sure. But this project is focused on the I-96 to Conner segment, which we will be replacing all the bridges in between that segment.
Okay, do we have any other questions? I don't see anything new in the chat or any new hands raised. Does anyone else have anything specific they wanted to make sure they got clarified tonight? Okay. We had a few people come in late and we just had a question about the bridges. Should we maybe go back over some of the beginning slides about the project overview? Oh, we have another question. How long until the bridge is replaced? When will it open back up?
Our current schedule calls for it to be open by November 1st of 2022. And that's where we stand right now. And that's where we're going to do our best to keep it on schedule.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, another question. Has there been an impact study determining how the construction work will affect traffic in the area? For example, delays, congestion, etc. Will there be an adequate remedy plans if this project adversely affects traffic?
Yes, there's been all kinds of traffic. I can turn this over to Mark to talk in greater detail, but we have had throughout the environmental process, our original environmental impact statement looked at traffic. We've completed a supplemental impact statement, environmental impact that again looked at traffic volumes and done studies. We're actually got a separate process ongoing right now that we're looking at how to best mitigate traffic concerns during construction. We're gaining some information. We're looking at different options that could be used to make sure people can still get where they need to get to, either by vehicle, non-motorized, pedestrians, to make sure that we're not impacting or we're lessening impact to everyone along the corridor. And that's an ongoing effort.
Yeah, and I would just add specifically to the Grand River structure, a traffic study was done to estimate the delay anticipated with this project. And I think, like we had mentioned before, there's a very good detour route using 96, as well as alternate bridges in the area to cross I-94. So the delay anticipated is less than 10 minutes, which is not considered a significant impact for this project. As well as, on I-94 itself, we're maintaining 3 lanes throughout construction, except for some of those off-peak times. And during those off-peak times, it's, closing the lane is not as impactful to I-94 Obviously, the 3 weekend closures of I-94 is an impactful event, but that's why we communicate those messages out to the public and through media to make them aware of those events and taking alternate routes and avoiding the area to help reduce the impacts to the area.
Okay, we have another hand raised, Breon Lewis. You should be able to speak, Breon.
Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I forgot to turn the microphone on. I'm learning that in this project that that most pedestrian bridges will become complete street bridges. I like that idea. And I'm learning that 3rd Street bridge will be torn down and never to be replaced. And what's the status? What's going to happen with Ferry Street Bridge and Bobian, John Iron Bobian? Will they be replaced or will they be replaced?
Well, first of all, yeah, I'm going to thank our complete street bridges. That took quite a bit of work in itself to come up with that. We all know that pedestrian bridges a lot of times are not being used. If we reconstructed them according to the American with Disabilities Act guidelines, with that there's we have quite a ramp that you have to get up that, and it's far better if we can construct the bridges at grade for everyone. So they're at grade. There's no ramps to climb. You can get over I-94, so we feel it is a win-win for everyone. So I'm glad. It's nice to hear a positive comment like that. So we feel it is a big improvement. Your other comments, Ferry Street. What I'll have to look at the current status. Does any other members of our team, without pulling out my plans on the Ferry Street Bridge, I don't know if I can
Yep.
speak to that.
Both Bobby and I was just going to add Terry there for you. The Ferry Street Bridge will be coming back. Will be reconstructed, as well as the Bobian Bridge.
Okay. We have Jay has their hand raised again. So could we unmute Jay to ask his question again? Unless you would like me to read it, Jay. I know you also put it in the Q&A, but that might have just been because maybe you thought I didn't notice your hand. You should be able to speak, Jay.
Yes, also, that's another thing too. As far as those traffic signal upgrades go, like what part of Gratiot is going to receive those? Is it going to be the entire thing from downtown to 8 Mile or from I-94 to downtown? And also about the whole reconstruction thing, is it going to be like a full closure? Because that's something I've been more curious about. Like when they do the first part of it, is it going to be like a full closure or a traffic shift like you did with I-75?
I'll jump in.
Take it.
Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Okay, I can. I guess your first question on the Gratiot signal improvements. So the signal improvements are on Gratiot and Michigan Avenue from the downtown, like central business district out to I-94. There was talks on Gratiot of carrying it out to 8 Mile, but that is outside the limits of this project. So we weren't able to get funding established to carry that out further. We'll note that, that those signals are still owned by MDOT, and they can adjust the timing permits and coordinate those with the system we're installing on 90, south of 94 there. So the progression on those would still be good up to 8 Mile. Your second question on the reconstruction on I-94, the first freeway package that would be coming out would be maintaining 2 lanes in each direction. So there wouldn't be a full type closure site situation. Traffic would be able to stay on their respective bounds. There wouldn't be crossing traffic over to the other side. So everyone would, you'd just be shifted inside or outside, when we're, depending on whether they're working on the median or the outside of I-94. But 2 lanes will be maintained during construction in each direction.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that too, is that on Gratiot, Michigan, that's the exact reason why we're upgrading the signals and making traffic flow better along those routes, is to help mitigate any backups and facilitate traffic movement during the construction of I-94. I mean, we're doing that intentionally to give motorists alternate route, so they're not caught in the construction of I-94 itself. So we see that as a very positive thing. And yeah, on the eastern part of the project, don't have a good detour route. So yeah, we're going to maintain traffic on the freeway itself. But as we move farther west, there is alternate routes, and we may consider a complete closure for the exact reasons that I mentioned. We're completely closing the Grand River Bridge. Is that if we've got a good detour route, and there's a possibility, we're going to be doing some more studies, but there's a possibility of rerouting traffic down I-75 and then back up I-96. There's a possibility there. We're going to continue to look at that, see if that is feasible, and it is at the best route, so you could get in, reconstruct that section of I-94 quick, and reopen it quicker. So again, it's a trade-off, but we're going to continue to study it and see and determine what works out best.
All right, sounds good. Do we have any other questions? Breon Lewis, hand is raised again. If we could unmute Breon.
Hello?
Yes.
I'm so glad Jay brought up the traffic signal thing. In my humble opinion, I know the cost of mountings is a bit pricey due to the rate of steel. I wish the majority of traffic signals were mounted on tubular steel mast arms, because in my humble opinion, is much more safer and it'll last. And as far as traffic signal upgrade goes, I mean, on Michigan Avenue and Gratiot, I don't know if y'all mentioned it about it. I mean, will they all remain the same mountings like on overhead cable steel? But yeah, I was hoping and praying and wishing that they were mounted on tubular steel mast arms. That would be, in my humble opinion, it would be ideal for arterial roads such as Avenue, Grand River, Jefferson, etc. They should be, in my opinion, mounted on tubular steel, like for wider traffic.
Okay. One of our panelists like to respond, or? We can't hear you, Mark.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry. Brianna, it was a little hard to understand everything you were breaking up a little, but it sounded like you were saying that you'd prefer all the traffic signals to be on the mast arms as opposed to the span wire. There will be some locations on Michigan and Gratiot. I think it's 2 or 3 locations that will have the mast arms, and they're more in the central business district, where that is kind of more of a standard item. Adding the mast arms to all locations adds a lot of cost, and it's just not cost effective to add those everywhere. It also complicates the wiring of the signals. When we have the span wire going around to all signal poles, we can carry the cabling across those wires. When we have the mast arms, to get the wiring to the other side of the intersection, we'd have to bore under the roadway. And in these areas, there's a lot of utilities in the road, and it would become very costly even just getting cabling underneath these roads, just with so much infrastructure in this area. So it's really not a cost-effective option to make everything mast arms in this area. But I agree that they do add extra aesthetics to the look, but it's just not a cost-effective solution.
Thank you, Mark. Do we have any more questions from our attendees? Looks like Breon has another question. I don't see any other ones in the chat. We could get him unmuted again. You can go ahead.
Hello. Is one of the intersections you're referring to is over by Michigan and Trumbull? Would that be one of them as a prime example where the mast arms would be mounted on?
I don't recall offhand. I know Randolph and Gratiot, I believe, is one. I believe 3rd Street and Bagley on Michigan is one. I'm not sure about Trumbull, but I'd have to check the plans. But it's the ones that are mostly in the central business district, where that is more of a standard item that they would use.
Thank you, Mark.
If you'd like, we can look up that information and maybe send you communication after the meeting on what locations are going to have the mast arms.
Does anyone else have any questions for our panelists? Just as a reminder, if you are on the phone, push *9 to raise your hand. If you would rather type your question, you can do that in the chat or with the Q&A button in the center of your screen. Everybody, a few more minutes to ask a question if they would like. Okay. If we have no more questions from our attendees, I would like to thank all of you for your time and your attention. Thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you, panelists, for that wonderful information. If you have any questions or concerns as the project gets underway, please reach out to Andrea Wilcox by email. It is on your screen now. You can also reach out to Terry Stepansky and Steve Galindo. Their and a phone number for those on the phone, 567-8972, and that is to Andrea Wilcox. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our contacts here about the project. So in conclusion, I just want to say thank you again to everyone for joining us this evening, and thank you to our panelists.